Good morning again, everybody. It's Friday. First week back from vacation for most of us. We made it. Alright, so today we're continuing Joseph's story, chapter 40, all of chapter 40. And this one is called The Cupbearer and the Baker. This one was always kind of interesting to me. I'll talk about it more after I read, but I already have some thoughts on this. If you've seen the DreamWorks movie, I forget exactly the name of it, but it's like the Joseph and the colored coat and everything. Not the Prince of Egypt, but the other one. Anyway, if you've seen the movie, that's what I keep thinking of when I think of this story. So that's where my questions come from. So we'll see how accurate it is compared to that. All right, chapter 40. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, just in case we didn't know who we were talking about, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials, who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand." "This is what it means," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon." When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, "I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head." "This is what it means," Joseph said. "The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh." Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief baker, just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So it's a little different than the movie, because in the movie they both have dreams. Obviously, it doesn't get as graphic with like removing his head and impaling his body, because it's a PG cartoon movie for kids. But if I remember correctly, he says that it's a little bit different with the dreams. The vine is there, but it's not just a short, the one vine blossomed and he took the grapes and put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. It was something about how like the one vine like devoured the other vines or something. They Hollywoodize it a little bit. That's what I like to say when movies don't stay true to their source material. But and then the other one too, the loaves of bread. I remember them like PGing that part of the story. So my thing is, well, my first question, just out of curiosity, is how does Joseph know these? Obviously, he gets the knowledge from God, but does he receive it as they're telling him the dream, or does he just know what it means inherently from what God is saying, or does he know beforehand what they're even going to say? And then that way he knows like what the dreams mean, no matter what the dream is, So it sounds like he interprets them as they're telling him, but of course, being revealed from God. But that's just, it's just been kind of curious. If I were Joseph, what would it have felt like to get the knowledge to interpret these dreams? Secondly, the, poor baker, I mean, I guess he did, what did it say? They offended their master. So they both did something to offend the king of Egypt. But what happened that made the cupbearer be redeemed and the baker be killed? It says that it's Pharaoh's birthday, so he was in front of his officials and he redeemed one and killed the other. Now, did he just, decide that? Like, he's Pharaoh, so he gets to decide who lives and who dies, who embarrassed him enough, who offended him badly enough to deserve death, and who didn't and deserves to be redeemed? Or was there something where he found out that the cupbearer actually didn't do what was thought of him, that he did, or something like that? I don't know. It's just, I just feel bad for the cupbearer, because if you're in the same situation as I feel bad for the baker, because if you're in the same situation as the cupbearer, and you both offended Pharaoh, say that they actually did it, and it's the same, degree of offense, why would he deserve to die and the other deserve to live? And, just hearing that from the dream would be, I would be very scared for those 3 days, wondering if, it was actually going to come true or not. But another thing that they don't, say in here, did Joseph tell them about God more than just interpreting their dreams? Because he says that all interpretations come from God. But did he talk to them about God, so that way, since the baker was, going to die, would he have had the chance to believe and go to heaven? Or is this another instance where it was he was a victim of circumstance, he didn't get a chance to believe in God, Joseph didn't kind of spread that belief, and he ends up in hell? It's just interesting to think, because I always, I know people that go to hell, it's from a lack of belief, but I always just felt bad for them, because that's forever, just because you refuse to believe something. So yeah, I just always feel bad if these people end up going to hell, especially in this situation. If I was told I had 3 days before I was going to get my head cut off and then my body impaled, I'd be doing all I could to kind of make myself right and make sure I had my faith kind of cemented. Anyway, that's getting into more of the emotional side of things, which I don't do well when I talk about emotional stuff. So that'll be it for today. Hope everybody's going to have a good weekend. And sorry for if I still sound a little off. My ears and nose have still been being weird. I don't know why. If anybody knows why ears are going to be going on and off with being clogged or not, it's not earwax, I don't think, because it goes on and off, and I just get randomly congested through the day. But I've been feeling fine for days now. I have my energy back. I don't feel any kind of sick. It's just literally there's some pressure thing going on in my head that's bothering my nose and my ears. All right, enough talking for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your Fridays.